Obviously, within the canon of the story, Jo is not gay because she gets married to a man, but I've seen it suggested that the author wanted Jo to be gay but was blocked because of her time period. So I thought I'd kind of make this investigation as to why people think that and whether or not there really is an argument to be made for it. So this isn't a literary analysis, it's more an analysis of the author and her intentions with the character. And clearly, it's not like provable one way or another what the author intended for the character because the author is dead and she can't tell us. I want to take an educational look at the author and what she intended for the character. I'm not trying to start an argument. Like, if you disagree with me by the end of the video, that's okay. Books are art, and art is intended to be subjective and open to interpretation. So if by the end of this video you still don't think there's an argument to be made that Jo is gay, that's fine. You can interpret the character however you want. It's art. It's not concrete. This isn't an examination of how I interpret the character. It's strictly an examination of how the author envisioned the character. And real quick, I wanted to say that I've seen a lot of people in response to the idea that Jo might be gay, saying like, oh, she's not gay, she's just independent, she's just career driven, she's just a tomboy. I just wanted to say, like, she can be all of those things. You know, her personality really doesn't have to do with her sexuality. I'll say my thesis and then I will get into the evidence to support it. So here's my thesis. Jo is based off of the author, who was most likely gay, and therefore we could assume the same about Jo. Louisa May Alcott based her characters off of people in her own life. Each of the sisters is one of her own sisters, and Jo clearly is herself. You find that out pretty quickly if you research the author. They have a lot of the same qualities. They're both kind of hot-tempered, they're both very smart, they're both career-driven, and they're both tomboys, they're both independent. Louisa May Alcott herself has said that Jo is based off of herself, and also, like, it's just, you scholars agree, it's pretty clear. However, Louisa May Alcott was probably gay, and let me give some evidence as to why. This is a quote that I'm going to read from Louisa May Alcott herself in an interview sometime in the 1800s. I didn't write down the year. I am more than half persuaded that I am a man's soul put into a woman's body, because I have fallen in love with so many pretty girls, and never once the least bit with any man. That sounds a little bit gay if you ask me. I think that's pretty conclusive evidence that she was a lesbian, but obviously that's not confirmable because she can't say herself that she's a lesbian. She never says those words. But I think the message of that quote is pretty overt, even if she didn't use the word gay or lesbian. I'm sorry, I knocked my mic. Because Jo is based off of herself, and she herself has admitted to falling in love with girls, it would make sense if Jo also was gay, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she is. She's not a perfect proxy for the author, so maybe this is one of the things that she changes. Obviously, Jo does get married to a man, which is pretty a heterosexual behavior. However, it's a pretty open secret that Louisa May Alcott never wanted Jo to get married to a man, and her publisher basically forced her to. Basically, what happened was the publisher said, like, you're not going to get published until Jo gets married, because at the time, there just weren't, like, you know, women had a very specific role in the 1800s, and so Jo never getting married would have broken that mold. Louisa May Alcott herself, though, never got married, and so it does make sense that she also wanted Jo to follow that. Louisa May Alcott kind of reconciled this by refusing to marry Jo to Laurie, who at the time everyone thought she was going to get married to, and everybody really wanted her to get married to. Instead, Laurie gets married to Amy, and that people really didn't like that for a very long time, because Amy just, people didn't like her character. In the new movie, though, Amy is incredible. Florence Pugh does such a good job. Amy and Laurie are so cute. I could talk about this for 20 minutes. This is a serious video, so I will not. Instead, Louisa May Alcott created a new character so that her readers wouldn't get the satisfaction of Jo getting married to Laurie. Kind of like, if I don't get the ending I want, neither do you, because Louisa May Alcott didn't want Joe to get married. When I read the book and I watched the new movie, and Joe does very frequently talk about wanting to be a boy and acting like a boy. And at first I was like, oh, she's just a tomboy. Like a lot of girls are just tomboys. But when you put that next to Louisa May Alcott's quote that I just read about her feeling like she has a man's soul because she's attracted to women, I think it does take on a different meaning. So, like, obviously, straight girls can also be tomboys. Like, I'm not trying to say that all tomboys are gay. That would absolutely not be true and it would make no sense. Because I already said personality has nothing to do with being gay. Louisa May Alcott was living in a time where sexuality just was never discussed. Like, it was just assumed that everybody was heterosexual, and if you weren't, then you kind of just had to pretend that you were or not get married. So it makes sense to me that if she's experiencing being attracted to women, she would assume that she must be a man because she doesn't know anything else. Being gay is not something that gets talked about, and it's definitely not something that gets accepted. So it also makes sense to me that she would take those struggles that she feels and that confusion that she feels about gender and sexuality and kind of project them onto Joe. I'm not saying that's what she did, but like, I think it is a pretty solid theory just based on the fact that Joe is pretty clearly a proxy for the author, and the author pretty clearly was gay. That's all I have to say. This is a pretty quick one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, it's totally fine if you disagree with me as long as you're polite about it. Um, this is just a theory. It's clearly not confirmable, but let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.